This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with. This is episode 541, Invisible Llamas. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Michael Rowe here in the frigid tundra of North Carolina as we've had, temperature in the 30s all week and nighttime temperatures like really frickin' cold. How cold is it in your neck of the woods? Michael Martin.
Also above freezing right now. And we've had some really low temps here. It was not low enough to where the Celsius and Fahrenheit scales converge, but we're getting ready for some more ice and snow and good fun stuff.
Yeah, we didn't cross that stream, huh? Those streams were not crossed at minus 40.
At minus 40, yeah, exactly. I've been in minus 40 before, and that is cold.
Me too, once. It was cold.
It is really cold.
It was real cold.
But you know what's really cold is all the cool stories that we've got for you here on this edition. And Michael, you're going to kick us off with a couple of things. We had a follow-up that you found right as we were recording, right?
We were talking about this briefly last week. It was an article about someone not quite claiming they were running Claude locally, but that this article would help you set it up so you could load Claude locally. And, we were going to take the week and test it out, set it up. And really, as I read through the article, it's like, well, it's not really about fully setting up locally. So that's interesting what they do. But what this led me down the path of was looking at other really cool local development models using large language models. And we've talked about it in the past many times about running Llama. Mm-hmm. And I've got this app that I've been working on in my copious free time, and it's just turned into spaghetti, right? The code is just really bad. And so I decided this week I was going to do some refactoring and try to clean it up, tighten it up, make it a little bit easier to maintain, etc. And I found a Llama repository called GPT-OSS-Claude-Code-32K. And this is a local LLM. I think it's an 8 billion parameter model, and with a 32K context window.
Oh, okay.
Which is huge.
Yeah, right.
Which is huge. I love it. And so I'm running that locally, and I took one of my source modules that had gotten really out of control, and I said, hey, here's my code, dumped it in, help me refactor this for ease of maintenance and understanding, and it did a freaking fantastic job understanding Swift 6. So all the concurrency stuff, it understood Swift data, which a lot of the models seems to struggle with. And probably within an hour, I was able to take this, I think it was 2,000 something line source module that I had worked on over the last year and a half, just kind of screwing around, refactor it into, a view model controller, 3 different views, 4 different helper classes, etc. Now it's tight, it's clean, it's easy to maintain. Did a CI/CD build on Xcode Cloud, deployed it to my devices, and everything is still working exactly the same as before. And actually, I feel it's a little faster. I feel that. And so I said, well, what are other ways that I could refactor code? Because this code base is pretty complex. And I was listening to Security Now this week, and Steve Gibson said this isn't the end-all be-all, but it's one that he started looking at called Tray AI, so TRAE.ai or Treya, which is supposed to also handle kind of most of the processing happening locally on your machine.
Right.
So a little bit safer, a little bit more secure, not going to leak your code. Now, does it do all that? I'm not sure. This is the free version. Downloaded that, took the second module in my code base that is also very ugly and confusing, and said, okay, Trey, look at this, help me refactor it. And because it's now its own IDE, it looks like it's just using a version of VS Code, kind of skinned. It went through that one and did another fantastic job of not only looking at that module, but now since I was doing it in the IDE instead of just a chat window, it looked at the rest of the code base and said, I see you've got some duplicate code in this module and that one over there. Let me refactor that out, blah, 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 blah. And probably about 2 hours after that, I now had the two most complex parts of my app refactored. So 3 hours of work, major refactoring. Now, Treya, on the other hand, wasn't perfect with understanding Swift and everything. So it did get a couple of things messed up, things that I was expecting that most AIs do, and I manually went in and fixed those problems. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed. This is getting scary good. Wow. And local with Llama, mostly local with Treya. And who knows what you can do with Claude eventually with that other article we mentioned last week.
Wow. Very, 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 very interesting. And, it's funny. I was just looking in Llama right now to see if I could find that Claude code example. So I didn't run the code that you had there.
Well, you need that whole string that I put in our show notes.
Yes. And so you'll find that in our show notes. And again, your mileage may vary. You take on board all the risks of executing code on anything. So, please, don't write us some hate mail later for this sort of stuff. But the point I was on was Llama itself didn't have this as part of the drop-down menu that you could say, hey, go grab this and bring it down.
Oh, no. Right? I only run Llama from the command prompt. I've never run any type of GUI in front of it.
Ah, okay.
So if you run Llama run slecrem / blah, 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 latest.
Yes. So
it'll pull it in.
So it'll move in that direction.
Yeah.
All right. So because I did a little bit of that, now my machine is also now misbehaving because it's like trying to find stuff that doesn't exist.
Oh, it's 10 gigs of download you're about to hit if you find it.
Yeah. So I was just like, hey, Llama, go find this. And it's like, I don't know what to do.
Okay.
But the article that I dropped in the links here for us to talk about is about a company called Humans. And their particular notion for reality here, and again, it's super funny because I can't see it anymore. My screen for that is completely blank. Is that this is a group of people that are looking to do what it seemed like the AI pins were doing, to be really a collaborative partner to help you in terms of a real assistant that you could converse with in natural language to get your job done. And I was intrigued by this because it seems like there's one of these after the other. There's been plenty of stories about other pins that are starting to show up on the radar for having AI capabilities in one way or another. And on top of all this, I was also really intrigued by all the Claude bot, Molt bot, and the varying things around that, which, even though they're running locally on a machine, still, if you're not careful, can have all kinds of security vulnerabilities that you really need to pay attention to and spend some time to do the right things. So we're in a Wild West situation right now in so many different ways of these models becoming available for people to be able to use them, and then for how do you interact with them, right? And my personal feeling is the chat experience feels again like a bit of an unnatural sort of call and response notion about how a human being is operating with an environment. that will have to be a lot more natural in the future. And in your situation, Michael, you were looking at, hey, can I refactor this code? Well, that was a command that you explicitly wanted to give that permission for those lines of code, take a crack at it, do the best you can, come back, find some problems with the Swift programming language, as you said, and you could fix that. Human in the loop, check, right? But we're going to find ourselves in very rapidly when you say, hey, go fix my calendar and make room for the meeting I need to have with Michael, or go read my email and respond to everybody who's asking me crazy questions that you should be able to respond to because you know enough about my email. Yikes. There's a bit of a yikes there.
I'll give you a yikes. So at work, my current company uses a lot of Google products, and as people who listen to the show know, I'm not a huge fan of them. Google products, and one of the things we use is Gmail. So we use Google Calendar, and everybody seems to use this one add-on called Clockwork. And what Clockwork does is you can set it up to automatically block time on your calendar, so you have chunks of think time.
Ooh.
And it will,
nice.
If you let it, it will move meetings around for you to give you that chunk of think time.
Ooh, so if you run Clockwork and I run Clockwork, our Clockworks can clock out with one another, right?
Yes, and so I use it to block time, but I didn't realize I had left on the one checkbox.
Whoopsie.
And I have a standing meeting with my manager once a week, and we do a lot of working meetings, and I give a stat. And it kept flopping around on me.
Yikes.
And it's like, wait a minute. No, I don't want to have this meeting move around on me because I want to be prepared, right? And so
Surprise,
your
me
point
with
about
your
the agentic AI doing stuff for you automatically without the human in the middle, I don't like that. And you're right. I think we're fast getting there with lots of individual tools. And when you start putting all of those tools together, it's going to get really messy. And you mentioned Moltbot, I think it is.
Yep.
And we had a link for the show that came in late that I threw in our show notes, which is a great article review of that, of the stuff, talking back and forth. It's long, not enough time for the show, but it's really interesting, kind of the perspective there. And I go back to the point you made, the point that we've been making for a long time is you can't just trust this stuff. The best example I ever heard, it's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
The best example I heard recently was in an interview, and it was the CEO of a company, and he was saying, people are worried that you'll only hire senior people and will lose the entry point. And it's like, no, you can't do that, because even if the code generates automatically, you can't just trust it implicitly. You need to have people who check. You need to have people who learn. And in the past, you figured out the problem, then you coded it. Now you might vibe the code, then you have to figure out what it did in order to validate it. So it kind of flips it on its head. And so that ends up being how you train the next generation of developers. Not that they're just going to go away because you're going to vibe everything. No, you still have to have the human in the loop and understand what the hell's going on and actually validate that your business process is still accurate and right. The code that was generated actually does what you asked it to do and not making up stuff. So,
Wow. So if you were to hire people and have them comment the code from a human perspective on top, you can actually use that then to train the model to get better the next time as you're training the human to find out, what was done.
And everybody lifts up. You're not going to get rid of the developers.
And you shouldn't. And you still need all those basics. No. I mean, that is ultra critical.
AI is not creative. Yeah. Maybe when it's hallucinating, it might be creative.
You tune it up a notch.
But you still need humans to kind of put the reality check in.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit to what some humans have done, because we have a few examples of this. And one of them from Tom's Hardware, and so this was found by Andy, our co-host, who's not with us today. He's got a few other things going on, was a modification of a gaming system that required you to insert a quarter to play the game. And I love this too.
I love this.
I loved it.
Outstanding. Of course, the interesting part from one perspective is actually how he did all of this. And what I do find interesting is you remember Gauntlet.
Do I
right?
remember Gauntlet? Are you kidding me? When I could play it,
Valkyrie shot the food.
I don't have to put quarters in it, which is something I experienced about a month and change ago. I played the thing for like 3 hours straight. It was great. Oh, I'm dead. Add more quarters. Yay!
Yeah. So it was on Steam a while back, and I bought it, and I was trying to get everybody to play, and it actually was. It was great to play, but it wasn't as fun.
Oh, because you
quarters
were watching your money disappear. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah, the fun part was you had to pay attention and really make sure, right, that you weren't just dumping quarters. It's like if you had infinite wealth and get anything you want, then everything kind of loses a little bit of its value.
Ooh, mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but I love this idea, and I'd really like to see, and I didn't catch if it was just to start a game or if it could be set up to do the Gauntlet model of, timer-based games where you're slowly losing energy until you got to put it in. Keep feeding the beast.
This is good stuff. And for those who have never experienced this, because there's a lot of people who haven't, that level of, oh, I'm so close. And I would really like a pizza after this, but I'm so close.
Yes. But I'm so close, and if I put this quarter in, I can't afford my pizza.
And you're watching the time go 9, 8, 7, and you're like, oh,
8.
Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Yes. So microtransactions, old school.
Old school microtransactions.
Now we also came up with another interesting thing, which was a variation of an umbrella. And this was something that I love the video for this, because the notion is, can you reimagine an umbrella where if you're carrying your groceries to your house or your car or your apartment or from the store, or oftentimes you've got a lot of groceries and it's hard to hold the umbrella and not get everything wet and drop the bag, and then have the classic movie thing. So this particular example is a quadcopter that is tracking you as you walk and providing you with shelter. So you can walk or skip or jump or run, whichever way you want, and that quadcopter is going to keep you nice and dry.
I thought this was really cool. There's two key things on it. One, the quadcopter is doing it all on device.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not sending the data to do tracking information. So it's all on device. Great. The second thing I saw as the guy was demoing it is you need a faster processor because there was a bit of lag.
Yes.
And if you've ever been a gamer on a Twitch game, right, like a first-person shooter, lag kills. And with rain, lag will get you wet.
Yeah.
And then you have to get the cool umbrella that the lady and her little kid has at the bottom of the article.
Yeah, that's not the exact kind of umbrella. That's just a weird collar, So this was from MIT. I loved also the fact that cool. He was considering adding what he called aimbots, to a bow and arrow, or building a working flight stick out of Lego. So he's got other ideas, that he wants to consider here too.
Yeah, but
so cool stuff.
This is really cool. I really liked the umbrella. It was
all right. Now, I see that we skipped one article, and I didn't mean to, and that was that Hacker News article about discovering games from Hacker News, and that was the one I think that Andy shared too. And I browsed a little bit, and I selected a game that didn't work on a mobile device, so I didn't do much with it. But there's plenty of games here, and you can find them by name or genre or whatever you're kind of interested in, and give them a shot. So. Take a look. All right, last in the making space here was a fun article, Michael, that reminded me of a conversation that we had about Duke University some years ago about creating an invisibility cloak. So even before Harry Potter, did his thing, there's a way to go about it.
Yeah, this actually, the funny thing is, when this article came across my feed, I was like, God, didn't we talk about the guy at Duke working on the invisibility cloak about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that? And they reference it in this article, and it really talks about kind of the advances in invisibility technology, and the really interesting ones were, to me, were the sound invisibility advancements that were in the article, specifically ones where, and of course I'm getting the pop-up now to log in to get to the article, so we'll have to get a link that doesn't require that. But there was one that had, like, I almost want to say microscopic holes that route the sound waves just enough to where you don't hear the sound through it, right? Sound tends to be broken down as it hits things, right? And so you can know something's there because the sound wave breaks as it goes by. And in this case, no, it literally goes through it. And just all kinds of really cool different technology on how do you trick the sensors. Could be visual with the camera in the front and the party in the back. No, that's not how it goes. It's the screen in the back, screen in the front, the party in the back. Anyway, the visibility cloak example, the sound ones, and what you're doing with a lot of stealth technology now, and it's fascinating that more and more of the walls that say you cannot do this, therefore you cannot have an invisibility cloak, are starting to drop down.
Yeah, so super fun stuff, and we'll have in the show notes a couple of links, and eventually we'll find the one where we did talk about it on a prior edition of gamesatwork.biz from our archive edition.
.biz.
So
yes.
Long-term listeners are going to know that we love Lego, and we've got a couple of articles. One I'm more excited about than the other. The first one is a Switch example of a gaming controller. We've talked about game controllers recently. Of this one is Lego. It doesn't look like it has the same kind of great usability as the controllers that Andy was talking about here recently, or the Game Boy version of Lego 2, but it's a cool thing to check out. What I am much more excited about, though, is the Lego announcement of the Smart Play set. So we avoided talking about this much during the CES timeframe, but it was announced at CES. And what Lego Smart Play is all about is about having a Smart Play brick that will provide audio elements depending on certain circumstances. And this will happen on either other tiles that are nearby, or special minifigs that have a tile that's near them as well. So it unlocks certain play experiences when you've got the brick. And given what Lego has done around robotics, these steps into this level of programming and play, I think is just an amazing next step to allow the creativity of kids and adult fans of Lego alike to do some really neat new things.
So let me ask you about this, because I saw a couple of reviews of it, and as I understood this, you're right. There's some kind of smart tag. There's some kind of processor thingy. I'm going to leave it at that technical term within a brick in a set, or multiple bricks in a set. And based off of position or location, they can make sounds or do certain things. So, one, my gut reaction is, and the examples that I saw, I'm gonna oversimplify them, is you put this on the brick and then it goes pew pew for you, and I'm like, as a little kid, pew pew was fun. Putting it on the brick and have the brick go pew pew for me, don't know if it's as fun, right? And second, is that really smart, or is it just pew pew? So I'm trying to And hopefully, as they come out and become available, we'll learn more, because I'm sure either you or Andy will get some of these
that is
when
the
they
plan.
come out. I'd like to know more of how, what can you do with it beyond just the pew pew? Is there any type of sensory data that you can then like feed to a device or a sensor that you can then say, look, I created a chess set of minifigs, and each of the minifigs have a sensor on it, and therefore I actually can watch the game on the computer too and move the chess pieces. Darth Vader comes out and Leia comes from the other side, and you got the king and the queen, right? Whatever, I guess dad and daughter. Oh man, that really messes up the story, doesn't it? Now that we know that Princess Leia
don't spoil it for people.
Darth,
come on, no spoilers.
That really messes with that story. But anyway, you got the gist. I want to know more. This is really interesting looking, but I want to know more.
It's an ecosystem play on the biggest level, right? So the smart bricks have some sort of accelerometer or something in them, must do, so that if you move them in space, they can now have a reaction. They can go pew pew. The smart mini figures can have sounds that are unique to them, and it's easy to imagine that the next things are going to be to be able to program them. And Michael, remember when you programmed like for the first time and you got the computer to do something that you made it do? So even a pew pew to a young kid may be enough to hook them and say, hey, if you like this, you're going to really like the Lego robotics. If you like the Lego robotics, you're really going to like the digital twin kind of capabilities. Oh, if you really like the digital, you see where this is going, right?
You could become a supply chain.
You could vibe code your way with Lego, right? I mean, there's a lot of fun that I think is available here, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be too.
I'm so excited. All I can say is pew pew.
yeah, I can tell.
That's why this is a video. This is not a video podcast.
Well, we have one last pew pew thing maybe to end on here. And again, long-term listeners will know that we collect not just Lego, but things that run Doom. And the last articles that we have here are focused on something called Doom Buds.
Pine Buds.
Doom Buds. Interconnected Doom Buds, Pine Buds that allow you to play Doom. So we've seen all kinds of that stuff.
I was literally trying to find my Pine board. I actually supported their original Kickstarter for the Pine board, which was a Raspberry Pi competitor that could run Android. That was the really cool thing about it, was you could run Android on it, or you could run Linux on it. And somewhere I have that original board, and Andy and I were joking about this because I was like, so Andy, have you tried it yet? And he goes, I don't have Pine Buds. So really, you can play Doom on Pine Buds. The answer, right? And okay, that's cool-ish.
Yeah. I mean, why not, right? So check it out. You'll be able to see it. Maybe you can get your Maltbot or OpenClaw or whatever to create what it needs to do to play Doom on something else once it has access to your email and your calendar.
I want to play Doom on my Apple Pencil Pro.
You probably could, right?
I probably could.
Pressing
it probably has enough horsepower.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pressing it down, drawing a thick line or
drawing a little guy going over here. Pew, pew, pew.
All right. Well, friends, thank you for indulging us for another edition of GamesAtWork.biz. We'll look forward to seeing what you're interested in, what you want to hear about. Drop us a line. You have the usuals, and we will be back again next time, next Monday, for another edition of GamesAtWork.biz. See you, everybody.
Bye. You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming technology and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.